Football, Michigan is going to name Bryce Underwood the starting QB. That is according to our Matt Zenitz. Underwood was the #1 recruit in the country in the class of 2025, according to 24/7 Sports. Underwood will be the first true freshman to start the season opener for Michigan since Kate Forcier in 2009. Michigan opens the season on Saturday against New Mexico. With that, we bring in National College Football and NFL senior reporter Matt Zenitz, who broke this story. And Matt, this was expected news. So why exactly is Michigan going with Underwood?
It's a rare talent. So I've been trending in this direction for a while. And the reason for that is that Bryce has been as advertised, and that's saying something considering not only the fact that he was the #1 ranked player in this freshman class, but just the overall hype that came along with Bryce Underwood. He has been not only as advertised, but has maybe even exceeded expectations to this point in Michigan. He is rare from a physical standpoint and also just extremely advanced in terms of his preparation, his maturity, his mindset, all of the different things that you can think of that are important for a quarterback to go along with the physical component. He is just a rare prospect for them, and one that we'll get a chance to see on the field coming up in now just 6 days.
You mentioned he's a rare prospect, right? So when you think about the fact that he had an NIL deal, or he has an NIL deal reportedly around $10 million, how much do you think that factored into the decision, if at all?
Absolutely zero. So Bryce, frankly, began making an impression in Michigan immediately upon arriving there. Like, it had absolutely nothing to do in terms of the money part. And I'll say this, there were veteran players, as I'm sure you can imagine, with a freshman ranked this highly and with this much hype. There were veteran players there that wanted to test him and wanted to see what Bryce was all about. And Michigan has something that they do from a competitive standpoint during the course of their winter workouts, where they match up players in similar weight classes and have 15-round workouts where these players match up against each other in different athletic tests, whether it's races or different things from a workout standpoint. And there were some standout players in Michigan that, because of Bryce being 6'4", 245 and not the standard size for a quarterback, got matched up against some different players within Michigan's front seven, including TJ Guy, one of their better players within that front seven group, to go along with at least one other starter. And Bryce not only beat one of those guys in one of those 15-round sessions, but in one of the other ones only lost by like 1 point. So made an immediate impression through stuff like that, and then has just continued to stand out for some of the reasons that laid out previously.
Yeah, I love to hear stories like that. Perhaps we're seeing a generational talent. Of course, he has to do it on the field against other opponents. But when you think about Michigan's offense, Matt, they were 113th in scoring offense in the country last year, averaging 22 points per game. What are realistic expectations for this offense with Underwood at the helm?
That they're going to be better at the quarterback position than they were last year. So Michigan obviously had consistent issues throughout the course of last season, and that's putting it nicely. They feel like they have their answer for moving forward. So look, are there going to be growing pains? Probably. Just comes with the territory when you're dealing with someone who just turned 18 years old and is a true freshman. But at the same time, they feel like they have a future #1 overall draft pick type talent at the quarterback position. And the good thing is that he will have some pieces around him that will help to take some of the pressure off, including someone else that I've heard terrific stuff about throughout the course of this offseason in Alabama transfer Justice Haynes at the running back position.
Listen, if we get what he's been advertised as, we are in for a treat with Bryce Underwood. Matt Zenitz, we always appreciate the insight, man. Take care. And so here is the Wolverines' schedule. They open it up, as we mentioned, against New Mexico. Then they go to Oklahoma, the number 18 team in the country. They don't have a ranked opponent to face, at least now, until Ohio State. November 29th. So we'll all see what Bryce Underwood is made of beginning August 30th against New Mexico.
We get to week one. Iowa State, Kansas State, that was one everybody was talking about, an actual conference game for the Cyclones and the Wildcats, and maybe the most unpredictable conference in college football, the Big 12. What does the win mean for Iowa State going forward?
Well, to me, the reason why Iowa State won that game is because they've got more of an identity than Kansas State. They know who they are. Matt Campbell's been able to develop that program over the last 10 years into something that just when it comes down to clutch moments, they're going to be able to pull through. Rocco Becht, the quarterback, did it last year, and he did it again in tight spaces and in crunch time against Kansas State. So because of that, getting an early season win against a contender like Kansas State is huge because later down the stretch, Kansas State's going to probably be better than what they showed Saturday. So big win for Iowa State. They got to build on this, continue to get a little bit better, especially offensively in the pass game. But I really like Iowa State still to be in the hunt for the Big 12 championship game after this win, getting it so early in the year.
It's a tough game to watch in the first half because it was such a wet field, bad conditions. Nobody could hold on to the football. The passing game was inept, but at least we had some spark in that second half and a big win for the Cyclones, as you mentioned. I don't know if there's been a more heavily hyped week one matchup in my lifetime, and that is Texas-Ohio State. And, of course, a lot of the hype will be surrounding the starting quarterback for the Longhorns, Arch Manning. Is it too early? Should we expect some bumps and bruises this season for a guy who, again, was not the main quarterback a year ago?
Well, listen, every quarterback has their lulls in a season, so let's put that out of the way. Let's not overreact if Arch Manning has a quote-unquote off game here and there, because every quarterback does. Having said that, Arch Manning has proven in the past that he's up to the hype. He's performed very well in spot duty. I mean, there's nothing more difficult as a quarterback than to be pulled off the bench and inserted to the game for 2 or 3 plays and then pulled back off and then put back in a game. And Arch Manning, that was his role last year. I don't know if a lot of people remember that, and he performed so well. That's why there's a lot of hype, because if he's able to perform as well as he did on a moment's notice, imagine what he can do as the full.
Don't know much college football at all. Still think that because he's a Manning, he can't run. That this is a different Manning. This is a different mold. He absolutely can run. He's very athletic. To the other side, in Ohio State, defending national champions, there's always high expectations in Columbus, but it should be noted, they lost a lot. They lost a lot in terms of players and even personnel. So what's a realistic expectations for the Buckeyes?
They're still going to contend for the Big Ten championship, obviously. They've got the depth. They've been recruiting so well throughout Ryan Day's career there. So this isn't something where you're going to say, well, they're going to take a step back this year. I think a step back for them this year would end up being a 2-loss season in the regular season. And that one loss could happen early here in week 1 against Texas. But remember, Texas is number 1 in the country for a reason. They're the deepest team in the country, the most talented team in the country. Ryan Day has built a roster here that is deep, and they're going to need, I think, a little bit more time to get accustomed to each other, especially along the offensive and defensive lines this season. Also, remember, Ohio State's not just losing a lot on defense, but they're losing their top-tier running backs as well, and they've got to replace them and get them up to speed. And then also have a new quarterback in Julian Sayin, who hasn't played extended playing time at all in his career. So Ohio State might be a slower starter than a lot of people are expecting, but they're still going to be in contention for a national championship and Big Ten title at the end of the year.
So we covered some of the storylines. We gave some of the background. Now the thoughts on who actually wins this Week 1 Clash of the Titans.
I'm going to lean toward Texas right now because I like that they're a little bit deeper, a little bit more experienced across the board at this point. I know everybody goes, well, Arch Manning hasn't really started a game yet in a big-time atmosphere. That's true, but he has started games in the past. He has come off of the bench at times and has performed very well in every single circumstance. I also like what they've been able to build at Texas along the defensive front. Over the last 3 years, it just seems like they have generational player after generational player, and then they just step up over and over and over again. I love the pass rush that Texas has built with Colin Simmons there. They're going to be really, really good from the get-go and the start. Ohio State, I think, is going to need a couple weeks to get up to speed. This is a coin flip game, though, being at the shoe, but I'm going to go with Texas winning a tight one at Ohio State.
All right, let's talk about the other Goliath matchup in week number 1, and that is LSU and Clemson. LSU's won a lot of games under Coach Brian Kelly. But you have to remember he's followed 3 coaches that won a national title, brought a national title to Baton Rouge. So obviously there's a lot of pressure. They've lost 5 consecutive openers, LSU has, not all under the direction of Coach Kelly. But at the end of the day, where do you see LSU? I mean, is this truly a top 10 team? Is this a team that can compete for high prizes?
Oh, absolutely. They have a top 10 roster. They have a top 3 quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier, in my belief, in the nation. But the issue for them is going to be week 1. Have to go on the road against Clemson, who I think, to me, is maybe one of the deeper rosters in all of the country, and you have to play there on the road. But what's going to keep LSU maybe on the fringe of being a top 10 team, potentially at the end of the season, is that schedule. You're looking at it right now. Going to Alabama and going to Oklahoma there in the final month of the season. I know everybody wants to look down on Oklahoma after last season, but the Sooners are going to be really, really good this year. Remember, they beat Alabama late last season when they hosted them. LSU in a similar spot there.